The regular meeting of the Mishawaka Common Council for Monday, March 4th, 2024 will please come to order. Good evening. Those of you who are in attendance, welcome. We're glad to see you. If you would, please take a moment to check your cell phone to make sure that you have placed it on vibrate or silent. And for those of you who are participating remotely, we welcome you once again as well. Members of the public participating remotely are asked to place their microphone on mute during the meeting, with the exception of any public hearing. At the appropriate point in the meeting, I will invite the public to unmute their microphone for purposes of submitting such comments as they may wish to make, one person at a time. All persons wishing to make public comments will be asked to first state their name and address for the record, and after completing the comment, members of the public are once again asked to place their microphone on mute, and we thank all of you for your cooperation this evening. With that, if you would, please join us in rising for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Hazen. Mrs. Hazen?
Okay. Mrs. Hazen?
And I can do
Here.
better. Mrs. Volker?
Here.
Mr. Carroll?
Here.
Mr. Benicki?
Here.
Mr. Emmons?
Here.
Ms. Hahn?
Here.
Mr. Mammolenti?
Here.
Mr. Violi?
Here.
Mr. Hicksonbaugh?
Here. Approval of the minutes of our regular meeting of February 5th, 2024. Are there any additions or corrections? Then hearing none, the minutes will stand approved as received from the clerk's office. Petitions, communications, remonstrance, and memorial.
Yes, Mr. President, we have petition number 2024-01 to the honorable members of the Common Council, City of Mishawaka, Indiana. This is to annex 1.5 acres crosshatch and establish zoning as S2 PUD and amend existing Douglas Common PUD to allow for storage units at 16963 Douglas Road and adjacent property. This is signed by Matthew Garcia. Petition number 2024-02 to the Honorable Common Council, City of Mishawaka, Indiana. Petition for annexation and rezoning to annex 30.64 acres and establish zoning as S2 PUD, northwest corner of Capitol Avenue and Cleveland Road. Just got to turn it down. This is signed by Chris Pestelak. Petition number 2024-03 to the honorable members of the Common Council, City of Mishawaka, Indiana. This is to annex and zone to S2 PUD for residential subdivision at the southeast corner of Bremen Highway and Dragoon Trail. This petition is signed by William Lawton. Petition number 2024-04 to the honorable members of the Common Council, City of Mishawaka, Indiana. This is PUD amendment for reduced building and parking setbacks for interior lot lines, Lot 1 and 2 of the Enclave at Grandview Minor Subdivision. This is signed by Richard Deal. We also have presentation of voided 2-year-old checks.
Thank you. The record will reflect that we have received information from the Controller's Office with regard to 2-year-old voided checks. This evening, we have no report of any special committee, no ordinances on first reading, no resolutions, nor any ordinances on second reading, so we'll move into privilege of the floor. And at this time, members of the public are invited to the podium to speak with respect to non-agenda items only under privilege of the floor. Please come forward.
Hello. So, weirdly enough, this is my first meeting.
If you could start out by stating your name and address for the record and try to speak up a little bit louder, if you would.
Yep. So my name is Chelsea Motlin, 511 Forest Avenue. And this is my first public meeting, so please stop me if this is not in the scope of what this meeting's for, but I'd like to go ahead and request for consideration some sort of change in the ordinance or code where we currently have a 300-foot radius for public notice, and I'd want it extended to something more inclusive, I'm familiar with the DNR where they require about a quarter-mile radius for public notice of projects, things of that nature. So that is my thing to put forward.
That's absolutely appropriate. Thank you for sharing that with us. I will tell you that with that type of request, and I remember the conversation at Mrs. Volker's public meeting where you brought this up and the mayor chimed in on this, and I'll certainly consult with our legal counsel and then the administration as well. That distance component, if you will, is driven by state statute. So it's not as much a function of local determination as it is state law. So we'd have to look at it in that context, but I promise you that I will follow up with those entities, and if there is one way or the other, we'll get back to you with an answer on what our options are.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak under privilege of the floor?
Kay Green, 1807 East Jefferson Boulevard, Mishawaka. Quick update, semis got better, now semis are 100 times worse. I just wanted to know if anyone from the city has contacted NDOT to try to get the sign put back up in the medium on Capitol Avenue, because we're told the problem is that truckers turn onto Jefferson and then they have nowhere to go. They've already turned, so the police we really need that sign back up in the middle of the road that shows they can turn towards AM General for deliveries, but they cannot turn the other way. And I haven't heard from anyone, so I was wondering if that had been addressed by anybody.
Good to see you again, ma'am, and thank you for being here. We will certainly follow up with the administration. As we discussed last year when you were in to see us, in my opinion, this still falls within the jurisdiction, if you will, of the combination of our police chief, our legal department, and our engineering department. But one way or the other, we'll see if we can try to pin down what type of conversations have taken place, and if they haven't taken place, what type of conversations can take place to try to address your concern.
One other worry, this just came to mind just a few days ago. Went into Walgreens at the corner of McKinley and Main Street. Part of the shelves were empty, and I said to the clerk, "Oh, you don't have people to stock your shelves?" She said, "No, it's the shoplifters walking off with everything. We aren't allowed to stop them because we lose our jobs if I do." I said, "Well, how are you addressing it?" She says, "We've ordered more lock boxes to put the merchandise in." All I know is this is my hometown. And if stealing is still stealing, if a line is not drawn, the next thing is that they're going to want the money out of the registers. The next thing is going to be a whole group going in and tearing up the store to get stuff out. Is there any kind of plan at all that Mishawaka has planned to do? I don't know if they need to encourage stores to hire off-duty policeman who waits till people leave the store and then arrests them, because I feel if it was done a few times, the ones I talked to were at Dollar Tree, Kohl's, and Walgreens. They all are having the same problems. So unless something is done, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I don't want that to happen in this town. So I really think there needs to be some kind of plan to have some kind of deterrent so this just doesn't keep going on and becoming such a huge problem.
And I would agree with you. But to me, that sounds like a series of decisions made at the corporate level that you and I would find to be troubling. And what I am confident in telling you is that I believe that we have made historic investments in public safety, in our police department in particular, within the year. So I'm confident in telling you that we have more, and in the past month, we've heard from the police chief who verified this. We have more police officers ready to serve the needs of the citizens of Mishawaka on a daily basis on our streets than we've ever had in the history of Mishawaka before. Now, if there's a breakdown between what the corporate entities are doing to take advantage of those services and what we're able to provide, I would agree with you, that's a problem. But so I appreciate you bringing up the point, I'm sure we all do, but I believe that we're ready to address each one of those situations that occur in those retail situations. We just have to be asked by the stores to enforce the laws that are
Well,
already
maybe it
there.
can just be letters of encouragement sent to their corporations or to the managers of that store that they could send to just saying, we have these things available, then we would like to help you to get this under control.
I agree, and we'll certainly pass this along to the police department and again, the legal department so that they can look at whatever remedies we have to try to address that concern.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Mamalenti.
I had a quick comment for Miss Kate Green, for Miss Green.
Ms. Green, Mr. Mamalenti has a comment for you.
If you could, you're fine.
Okay.
Well, thank you for coming this evening, and I fondly remember the conversation that we had at the meeting, at your first meeting when you brought this topic up. Going through my files, I noticed that an email was sent out to you guys, or a letter had been sent out by Matt Lynch, who is the Executive Director of Development and Governmental Affairs. So maybe I can resend that to you. It was kind of explaining some of the purpose
Well,
behind.
I did get a map letting me know what the traffic flow is supposed to be and so on.
Sure.
I did count how many houses were, if trucks went this way, because they're supposed to be gone off McKinley, and how many it impacts ours coming off of Capitol Avenue. We've been fighting this ever since.
Sure.
They closed the intersection of McKinley for a while, and they were sending them all down Jefferson, and it started then, and there's just now that where the Woods Auto Sales was, they took the land across from it, made a much bigger lot. Now we have more car carriers coming down because they're delivering cars plus to Jordan's. It's just a very unsafe situation.
Sure, and I agree with that, but I just wanted to make sure your first comment said you hadn't heard from anybody, so I wanted to clarify. Thank you.
I'm Larry Green. I live off of Jefferson. I happen to be connected with that woman that just stepped off to the side. I counted 11 trucks in one day in front of my house, turning on Clover. On the average, I've got anywhere from 3 to 4 a day. I straightened my mailbox again because I'm right there where Clover is. And when they come out, they make that turn and boom, boom, you know? And it does me no good to cuss the drivers. They don't understand me anyway. But it is important to the people on Jefferson. And then I have one more thing. This goes to Miss Hazen. How's my friend Tony doing?
He's doing quite well, thank you.
Good, good. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else wishing to speak under privilege of the floor? Then is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak under privilege of the floor?
Good evening. My name is Kristen Neighbor, address 2002 Miniature Rose Lane, Mishawaka, Indiana. I am the Assistant Adult Coordinator for the Mayor's Youth Council and just wanted to make an introduction of ourselves. As many of you are familiar, we'll be doing our mock council meeting this year as our leadership project. And so we just want to introduce ourselves and are here today to observe you guys and all of the wonderful things that you're doing. So thank you for being here and thank you for being role models for our students.
Well, thank you. We appreciate the work that you and the Youth Council does. Tonight is really not reflective of what typically goes on. This is about the shortest agenda that you possibly could have seen us work through, which is good news and bad news for you. But I know that some of us are going to be participating in your mock council meeting. We look forward to seeing how you do it better than we do 2 times a month. So thank you again for everything that you do. Anything else from the council? Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak under privilege of the floor? Then again, is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak under privilege of the floor? Thank you. With that, we'll move into unfinished business, of which there is none. New business. Anybody with conflicts of interest form?
Oh, I'm on. Got complacent there for 5 seconds. Yes, we have a conflict of interest form, acceptance form, and it is from Luann Hazen, 3rd District Council.
Thank you. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the receipt of the conflict of interest form from Mrs. Hazen.
So moved.
Second.
Any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Is there any other new business? Then hearing none, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
Motion.
Second.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.